This is the DTV Digest, the podcast that brings you news and reviews of films which didn't make it to the cinema. And now, here's your host, Mike Parkin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the DTV Digest. I'm your host, Mike Parkin, and joining me, as usual, are Richard Hawes.
Hello, everyone.
And Stephen Lockridge.
Hello.
This week, we've got three main reviews. We're going to kick off with The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Then we have a Norwegian thriller called Gold Run. And we're going to wind up with A New Breed of Mafia, also known as Jersey Bred. Our short shot is called KODAMA, and our DTV throwback is Michael Dudikoff in Chain of Command. So, without further ado, let's crack on. Our first review then is The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Based upon part of Bram Stoker's Dracula novel, a Russian schooner called the Demeter sails from a Romanian port on its way to England. However, by the time it arrives, all of its crew and passengers are missing. This film documents what happened on that fateful voyage. I do take a bit of umbrage, guys, with prequels. In that we know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Taking a few examples, Furiosa. Okay. We know where that's going to end up for a start. The prequel to The Thing.
Yeah.
We know where that's going. And now we've got this one, which is, very much documented as part of the novel. There's a whole chapter, which is the captain's log, explaining what's happening on the voyage as it goes. It takes up a whole chapter leading into, the shipwreck at Whitby.
Yeah.
So I do sort of take a bit of umbrage at these things, going, why are you telling? We already know. Are we really that interested in the details? In some cases, yes, we are. Furiosa, for example, very much so. And I suppose the escape valve for any of these is going, but there's a character you didn't know about that we've invented specifically for this. So you might think that you know what happened to everyone, but you don't. The Thing is another example of this. Okay, we know what happened. Loads of people died at is it Norwegian? It was a Norwegian outpost, wasn't it? Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're finding the Thing, all the rest of it. So we know where it's going, but they develop characters which we can follow and hopefully sympathize with. In this one, we have this guy who's a doctor, a scholar. He's our sort of main character, our way into this, and I did enjoy it. I must admit, I thought it was very good overall, even though I don't know where it's going, but anyway.
Sorry, but I'll just butt in at this point. I didn't get a chance to watch it, unfortunately. But if I said big budget Steve Lawson movie?
That's exactly what I was literally getting to that, because Steve Lawson must be going, hey, hang on a minute, this is my shtick, taking part of a bigger story and concentrating on it, but with a big budget, as you say. That's exactly what this is. A slightly more expansive cast, better special effects, that sort of thing. But it is, in essence, it's exactly what Steve Lawson's been doing for the last 5 years or so.
And there was that short film we watched, which was kind of an offshoot of
the Frankenstein.
One.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one?
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of got a little vibe of that from the bits that I did get a chance to see. I was sort of getting, because I was just sort of at the setup. That's about as far as I got, unfortunately. But I was quite intrigued. It was looking like it was going to go somewhere. So tell me about what happens once they sort of set off to sea, sort of without obviously spoiling anything.
So what happens is it does follow the novel to a large degree, in that right at the beginning, when the ship's been loaded up, these these carts turn up with these big boxes, basically full of Transylvanian soil. It's his. He needs the soil to sort of sleep in, basically. But he's also brought himself a packed lunch.
Yeah.
In the guise of a young woman who he's sort of feeding off. But as soon as she's discovered, then he starts branching out to other members of the crew and things like this. We've got a great cast because we've got Liam Cunningham as the captain. I thought he was really good in this, as he always is. We've also got a little kid, and you'd be surprised what happens to him. But yeah, no, this was a very solid effort, and despite my misgivings about prequels and things which are leading into already established pieces of work, I thought they did a good job overall. But the back of my mind, I'm going, I know you're all going to die. You literally,
does it play out in the kind of routine kind of Alien, Sea Fever, whatever it is? Loads of a bunch of people go out on Event Horizon, whatever it is. Bunch of people go out. The thing that comes out to get them gets them, and that's the end of the story. Is it that clear cut, or are there nuances here?
What do you say, Steve?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's pretty much cut and dried.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, you know what's going to happen. You know what's going on. You know what point you're coming to, but it's done in a decent way. It's more gradual than I thought it'd be. It's like one picked off a week or something like that at first, and then it all comes to a bit of a head and stuff like that. But it's done well. I mean, what's he called? Andre Overeld, is it Overdahl?
Yep, director, yeah.
Oh, he made it. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, originally, this was going to be oh god, I forgot his name now. It's just come out of my head. Guy from Neil Marshall. Neil Marshall was originally going to be directing this. Yeah, when it was first announced, but obviously got sidelined into something else, probably.
Yeah. I didn't know that. Like I said, I've seen quite a few of his, his other stuff like Troll Hunter and Autopsy Jane Doe, and he's, decent director. And I'd say the main gripe with it is it's a bit too long. It's nearly 2 hours. You could easily cut half an hour out of it, just to tighten it up a bit. But the performances are good. Love David Dashmalchian. Like, he's always good in my eyes. Well, everything I've seen him in. Liam Cunningham's great. The other thing that let it down a bit as well was I thought the CGI on the creature.
I thought he looked really good. Thought it looked really, really good overall.
In some bits, in others, it just looked a little bit too CGI. I mean, it reminded me of like the bat in Bram Stoker's Dracula. That kind of style. But with that, he was all practical, and I just think that looks better.
Yeah.
In the Coppola film, I think it looked better in that. Well, I get where they were coming from, and they use that style and stuff. But yeah, it's not groundbreaking. Like I say, you know what's coming, you know what's going to happen. But it's a decent thrill ride.
It is. It works. I mean, and if you're not familiar with the original novel, then you probably will get more out of it for sure. And I have to admit, I did like the epilogue. The epilogue was quite interesting, and I think that could, if somebody were to bankroll that into a spin-off, I think that would be pretty decent for sure. Because again, the production values are great. With the end.
Well, I mean, to be fair, this is the thing that interested me about it, because it did come out. It got a cinema release in America, and it died a death, didn't it? It
Yeah.
just didn't make any money whatsoever, for what I recall.
Mm.
And I'm quite surprised. You know, I'm not saying it should have been a runaway hit, but it didn't deserve what happened to it. Because from what I can see, the reviews are still quite decent. You know,
Yeah.
they're not. It's
Absolutely.
not being slagged off or anything. And I just find it strange.
Again, well, you know, maybe people had the same gripe that I did. It's like, well, I know what's going to happen at the end. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
it could be that. But even so, I thought it did a good job.
Mm.
What are you going to score it?
I'll give it a 7.
Yeah, it's definitely a solid 7, and probably one of the bigger production films that we've had come through. Yeah, and again, you know, mainly because, as you said, it didn't do particularly well in the States. It just sort of left it a bit high and dry and ended up. Well, I mean, it came out what, last year? Or
Possibly year before.
yeah, it's
2023.
taken a while to come over here. But there you go. Anyway, 2 sevens for The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Go check it out. Our next film is Gold Run. In World War II, as Germany commences its invasion of Norway, it falls to Frederick Hasland, a secretary at the Ministry of Finance, to arrange for the country's whole gold reserve to be smuggled out of Norway before the Germans can get hold of it. So pretty much based on the true account of what actually happened, this one. It does sort of truncate some of the timescales, but you know, the events that actually happened in the film are what really happened. I thought the cast was great. We've got, not only do we have the character of Frederick, we've got his sister involved, who's also, you know, she's had experience in conflict before in the Spanish Civil War. There's also a well-known poet who, you know, is a bit of a sort of celebrity called Nordal Grieg. And you know, he was really interested in this as well. And there's these other 2 characters. One's called Odd Henry, who's like this really sort of grizzled sort of, you know, delivery driver who gets sort of pulled into driving one of the lorries by this this other civil servant who sort of helps him. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought it was a cracking story. I thought the soundtrack really helped to sort of drive the urgency of what's happening. It sort of had it had this sort of ticking percussion all the way through it. You know, I thought that really worked. The only sort of like embellishment is, you know, it needs a bad guy sort of thing. So they bring in this. I imagine he's a made-up character, this major in the SS, who's put in charge of trying to obtain the gold, and you know, he's basically a step behind all the time. So like, you know, he's turning up and it's like, you know, all you see is like his back as he's looking into an empty vault. You know, there's like, curses, they beat me again.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
it's very much a curse.
There's a bit of that all the way through, but yeah, no, you know, this is just a really solid account of one of those sort of amazing stories that actually happened. Steve, what did you make of Gold Run?
Yeah, I enjoyed it actually. To be fair, it's probably not something I would have watched. Again, you kind of, it's a bit of a, you know, like you say, it's a true story, so you kind of realise what's going to happen, or you know, it's one of them. But I thought the characterization was really good. I was very surprised with the character who was given the job, basically.
Yeah.
Like he says in the thing, he's very meticulous and controlled man, you know, and that's him all the way through.
Yeah, he has to rely. I think he falls back on that, doesn't he? That sort of like, you know, that red tape. You know, he needs that bit of you know,
Like stability or normality.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, to do it. It's like, no, we have to count every single gold bar as it comes through. You know.
And obviously he's getting flack off the military guy all the time about it. But yeah, it's one of them you get invested in the characters. Like I say, especially that Odd Henry and Ingmar, was it?
Yeah. That's right, yeah.
I thought they were pretty funny. That they gave a little bit of levity I think it needed, because it was, obviously it's the war. It's a very serious thing, and it's basically the whole economy of the country that's going to collapse if the Nazis get hold of the gold and stuff like that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I say, it's not something that I'll probably watch myself. One thing I would ask is it gone straight to iPlayer?
This is an interesting thing because it's just coming out on DVD in this country. It was made in 2022, so it's a couple of years old. But apparently it's been sat on the BBC iPlayer for over a year. Right. So they'd obtained it, and it's still there as far as I'm aware. Which is it saved me £7 basically. Yeah. Because I was literally going to buy it, and then Rich goes, "Hang on, it's on my watch list on the iPlayer." Rich, as you said, you'd earmarked this to watch at some point, and finally found an excuse to do it. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I liked it as well. It was made for basically the Nordic Netflix, although I'm sure they've got their own Netflix now, but Viaplay, it was a production, and which kind of fits because when I'm watching it, I'm thinking, I can imagine this is the kind of film I would be watching on Netflix. It's got that same kind of production value, and the whole being a Norwegian film and stuff, it's just those kind of things are something we associate more with like a Netflix now, whereas this was one of a handful. There's not a lot of films that get picked up for international films that appear on British television. So this was BBC 4, but like Channel 4 or something. Back in the day, you would have got BBC 2 or Channel 4 showing this stuff late at night, and that kind of, it fits into that kind of thing. So if people watch stuff on Netflix and they've enjoyed some of the sort of period, World War II kind of thrillers of that, those style films, head on over to the iPlayer. This is definitely worth a watch, or say check it out on disc, or pick it up or whatever. But I think it's good production. The focus on the sort of the office worker basically as like the protagonist and sort of leading the way was sort of interesting, and that kind of sets the tone and the pace for the film, because it's not an action movie about the military kind of leading the way. It's kind of, like you say, there are these slower scenes, and this is sort of counting the thing, and you're kind of on the military guys guy. You're thinking, well, they're coming. You've just showed us that they're on the way, and they're like counting these thousands of crates and stuff. But that all works. I think it works really well. The story's really interesting. It doesn't come up saying it's a true story. I didn't know the story, so it was only when it got to the end that I sort of validated my suspicions that perhaps there was a basis in some truth here. And we get the photographs and captions of the real
what
people.
What happened afterwards and all that.
Yeah. So we get that, and I did think it was a good quality production. I enjoyed the cast. I did wonder if the what I'll liken as the R2D2 and C3PO of the story, whether they would just sort of created as a sort of side story, because often for a majority of the thing, they're kind of side characters that sort of split up the action to sort of vary it up a bit, add some humor. You get this kind of odd couple thing going on with them, but apart from that, it was good, and I would say I do recommend it.
Yeah, definitely. It's got some really, it's not, as an action movie as such, but there are some nice production
Oh, there is.
bits
Yeah.
that, like, you know, there's a bit at the beginning when we first meet Major Otto Stoltzman, when he sort of flags down a car, and you think, you know, he's all soaking wet, and you realise, hang on a minute, he's a German officer, you know, because he puts his coat back on and that. But then it's sort of drive down the road a bit, and you see his ship, you know, this battleship sort of on its side, you know, sort of on flames and stuff. So that was pretty cool. And then at the end, we do get like this, you know, the bombing the harbour side, you know, trying to sort of stop them.
Yeah.
It was all very good. Yeah.
The bit where the church falls down looked amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that whole bombing bit, absolutely great.
Mm.
Yeah, and I came across this because, you know, I check what's coming out on disc, and then this, you know, sort of stood out because it wasn't a sequel or you know, something. And yeah, I like the trailer of it, so I'm glad we got to cover it. It is interesting. Its current status in the UK, as I said, you know, it's on the iPlayer on BBC, but also now on disc as well. You know, if you want a permanent copy of it, go out and get it, basically. But we thoroughly recommend it. So Steve, what are you going to score it?
I'll give it another 7.
And Rich?
And a solid 7.
Yeah, 3 7s for Gold Run. Go check it out. Our next film is A New Breed of Mafia. Once childhood friends, Vincent Napolitano and Anthony Carboni are at odds with each other when the hot-headed Anthony gets out of prison and starts making waves within the local families. This is called A New Breed of Mafia, Steve. Is it bollocks?
Yeah.
This is exactly, it's the old breed of mafia, but with tech bros, basically. A bit of crypto thrown in. You know, that's basically the extent. You know, otherwise this is DTV version of Sopranos.
Yeah. Every single Italian American cliche mafia you can think of thrown in.
Absolutely.
Get out of here.
All of that, yeah. Don't worry about it. All this, yeah.
Forget about it.
It's no, seriously, it is. It's exactly that all the way through. You know, it's just that they're from New Jersey instead of you know, Brooklyn or wherever. God knows.
Yeah.
But yeah. So you know, it sets it up. Anthony gets out of prison for something. You know, they want he wants his cut of the proceeds. He thinks he's getting shafted, so he complains, and then, you know, because Vincent has sort of moved into more sort of cyber crimes, shall we say, you know, running like a
like dodgy gambling sites.
yeah, exactly.
Like
sort of dodgy online gambling and all that sort of stuff. So you know, he's making a shit ton of money, but because it's all newfangled stuff that the rest of the guys don't understand, you know, they're sort of treated with a bit of suspicion. In the background, and I mean way in the background, we've got 2 FBI agents who are sort of trying to keep tabs on what's going on, but they hardly sort of make any impact on the story.
Well, I mean, this is the thing with them two. It's like
they're the exposition almost, aren't they?
Yeah, they just show up and give a bit of exposition and then fuck off another half hour, and that's it. And I just found this really frustrating. I really did. I mean, I'm not the biggest gangster film lover in the world anyway. You know, that kind of stuff. Yeah, some of it's all right, but I'm not a big fan of it. And this, no, it weren't for me at all. It was just so. Everyone was just like so over the top and just.
It is. Oh, I mean, you wouldn't want to go to any sort of restaurant or bar or anything anywhere near these guys, because, you know, it just ends up in like a, you know, swearing, slanging match. You know, everyone puffing their chests out and shit. You'd be sat there going, "Oh no, God, these guys again, Jesus!" You know, let's go to Manhattan, for God's sake. I'll tell you what did work for me in this: the music. The score again. I think 2025 is becoming the year where we're finally getting less and less generic DTV scores. You know, there seems to be less library music going into these things, you know, and less of those stupid 50s crooning songs, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
This, you know, I was quite surprised that this did have, you know, not all the way through, but there was definitely sort of some good atmospheric music in this sort of
yeah,
synth
I
score
mean,
going on.
a lot of the rap songs didn't do anything
No,
for
no,
me, you know, that kind of stuff.
that side of
Yeah,
it, no. But
yeah,
yeah, the rest of it, the actual score itself, I thought was pretty decent. Yeah,
yeah,
quite enjoyed it. But otherwise, you know, there's nothing particularly exactly bad here in terms of you know, production wise and things like that. It's just we've seen it all before.
yeah,
There's nothing new here. You know, you're not really sort of hanging much on the fact that, you know, Anthony is sort of doing all this sort of cybercrime or whatever. You know, it doesn't make any difference to the way anyone's actually acting or behaving
yeah.
at all. So,
No,
you know, which is kind of what, you know, I'm expecting from the title. Is like, oh yeah, you know, we do things differently. And I think, no, you're doing exactly like the same. You're just acting like your dad and all the rest of it. You know, the old crew. It's just that, you know, the way you're earning money is a little bit different. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, anyway, how are you going
Is
to
that
score
is
it?
it got the
Go on.
sorry? But is that new breed of Mafia? Is that like a really tacked on kind of UK distributor
Could be.
title,
Well, yeah,
or does it feel like they've actually could it have been a title that the filmmakers had intended that was used in other territories, or
it's
because it
interesting
was
because
originally called, like you say, Jersey Bred, which probably
yeah,
fits the film a lot better.
it does.
Yeah. But I don't know if I've got a feeling maybe the script has been trimmed down a bit as well.
Hmm.
Because it just seems to jump and jump and jump, you know, just it's a bit all over the place for me.
Mm-hmm.
It jumps from, you know, him getting out of prison, and next thing is, you know, what in his cut of the bar and stuff, and it's like, well, hang on a minute, you've been in prison, why would you?
Exactly.
I don't know if there's other, you know, like scenes been cut out with a bit more
Hmm.
exposition. That's why they've got their FBI agents in.
Maybe, yeah.
You know,
And I think it's a bit, you know, there's no real sort of focus on a particular character either.
Mm.
You know, it keeps jumping from one to the next.
yeah, yeah,
And I think you know, a decent through line would have been the son of Vincent's friend.
yeah,
I think because he's the one who sort of knows all about. You know, you see him at the beginning talking to Peter Tony. Peter Tony. Actually, that did make me laugh. There's a bit where the other guy gets out of prison. It's Sal.
yeah.
And the guy, here's your phone. And of course, he's been in prison so long, he doesn't know how bloody iPhone works, sort of thing. So he just talks to him and he go, "Oh, call Tony." And they go, "Which Tony?" And it sort of lists about 15 different Tonys. Yeah, well, that was quite good. Yeah, I thought, but that kid, I thought, you know, he was a decent character, and you know, they could have done something there. They kind of do, but you know, but not as a main character, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But anyway, so how are you going to score it?
I'll give it a 5.
Yeah, I'm going to go a bit better. I'm going to give it a 6. Because you know, it was fine in that it's a gangster story. You know, it's an episode of The Sopranos. Basically, is what it turns out to be.
That's what I mean. To me, it was just slap bang in the middle.
Yeah,
You know, not good, not bad, but it's everything we've seen before. Every single cliche. You've even got them walking into a strip joint. You know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely. So there we go. That is a 5 and a 6 for A New Breed of Mafia. Go check it out. Our short shot this week is KODAMA. Arthur, a member of an elite SWAT samurai team, embarks on a rescue mission into the spirit world in order to recover his father from vengeful Japanese yokai spirits. Okay, production values are pretty much off the charts in this one, guys. Absolutely. This is damn good, I thought. Rich, is there anything you can tell us about this one?
Well, I can tell you it's been at the top of my must-see list for about 2 years. So
Oh,
it's only recently premiered. I've been subscribed to various services and whatever, and I actually completely missed that this has got released. It was like a few days later, Film Combat Syndicate had posted like it's available now, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't even realize. I've been looking forward to seeing this for ages. Made by a director called Brian Tang, who's also the cinematographer. I knew it was going to look great as soon as I saw the concept of just the basic concept, SWAT samurai, so that's kind of all I needed to know.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
director, he's done just want to check thing, but he did the last thing that was released by him was a fantastic, it was a short film, but it was a trailer, so it was just like a couple of minutes long, not for like it wasn't a pitch or anything. I think he was just trying to um put it together. But basically, it was a Star Wars Episode 1 kind of spin-off called Pod Racer.
All right.
And the idea was, what if they made a movie about pod racing? And it was a really, really slick movie. But he did an action film called Bolero, which was really, really good. That was a few years ago. So very, very talented guy. Had been looking forward to this. I didn't really know anything about it going in, so the whole setup and the yokai spirits and all that, which I have a very vague understanding of, because there was a film called The Great Yokai War.
That's right.
A few years ago, which I did watch, and I know that's kind of fundamental to. I mean, I know it's probably all in, the Spirited Away. I think that's probably all the yokai spirits and stuff. I might be wrong, but the film is kind of, it's kind of it's set in a future, and it's got like this doorway, and you go through, and that's where the spirits are, and they have to battle them, and they're trying to do a rescue mission and things like that. But there's martial arts action that kicks in. It's not just because they're SWAT, so they've got various weapons at their disposal. But there is a full on martial arts flying all over the place kind of action sequence. As I was expect, the standard to all the action martial arts and stuff was really, really good. I think it was done by Jake Wan and the guy behind the Twisting Tiger film as well.
Something Lee, isn't it? Is it Gordon?
I think it's Joseph Lee. Joseph Lee. Yeah. So Quan and Lee are both really great choreographers and filmmakers in their own right and stuff. So this is a really great team that they pulled together, and I thought the cast was really good. So it looks fantastic. So definitely 15 minutes well spent. It was more than I was expecting. I think there's a couple of other films that it kind of reminded me of. There's I think it's like a time loop kind of film, which was like kind of about a SWAT team. I wish I could remember the title of it. That kind of came to mind. But this is very distinctive. It's got its own look and feel and whatever. I think it really stands out. It's not actually like anything you've seen, because the concept is quite novel and inventive, and I think it just sort of it's kind of, there's elements of stuff you've seen before, but it's in a whole sort of different package. And I think especially if you enjoy films sort of about Japanese culture and the spirit, the sort of particular view they have of the spirit world in that that the folklore there, I think it all brings it all together in quite an interesting fashion.
Yeah, totally agree. One thing I did like is that portal. It's just something I've always liked. We came across something like it in the Demon Wind from the 80s, where you'll have a doorway, but there's nothing behind it. You can look behind the doorway, there's nothing there. It's only when you open the door and it actually leads you into another dimension. I thought that is a really interesting concept. I do like that. Steve, what did you make of KODAMA?
I thought it was great. I really, really enjoyed this. And Do we know if it's like a proof of concept, or is it just a one-off short? Because I'd love to see this expanded into a proper film.
I'm not sure if it was designed that. I'd have to look into that because I'm really not sure. But yeah, I mean, there's certainly room there, isn't there? There's scope to do a lot with that world that he's created in those 16 minutes.
I mean, at first I was like, hang on a minute, you're going killing spirits and another. I thought, oh, how can you kill someone who's already been killed? But in a way, it does kind of make sense, you know. And it starts off with his kid getting lost going through a portal and getting a bit lost, and he has to go rescue him. And then it kind of flips it, so he's got to go rescue his dad and stuff like that. And yeah, I just thought it was cracking. I thought the style was brilliant. The choreography in the last scene, the freeway scene.
Yep.
I thought that was phenomenal, and the style. I thought it was great. Really, really enjoyed this one. It
was very good. It's an interesting bit towards the end when we got this spirit who can shapeshift, and he's looking at two versions of his dad, and all I could think of was there's an episode of Star Trek where it happened to Kirk. And Kirk's like going, you have to shoot us both. It's the only way. I was really expecting them to sort of say that, but it did something different, which was really cool in its own way. Thought it was very good.
I think we have seen variations of. I mean, like you were talking about The Thing earlier, just in passing. But I think they all kind of done that. Encountering doppelgangers. It's like which one's the real one?
Which one's the real word? Yeah, that's okay. Pretty good. And that in itself was a really cool special effect. I mean, all of us took it at face value that there's two of them now. There's nothing like you go, oh yeah, well that's obviously CGI or something. It's just so accomplished, and you just, as I said, you just take it for granted that what you're looking at is the truth. Which is really cool. Right, so we do not score the shorts, but we certainly recommend you go check them out. And we shall put a link to this in the footnotes below. Go check it out. Our DTV throwback this week is Chain of Command. Out in the oil-rich country of Khmer, Merrill Ross finds he's in the middle of a very explosive situation, starting with an attack on an American-owned refinery and then a hostage situation. Not knowing who he can trust, he's forced to use a process of elimination through the chain of operatives he encounters. I'm going to chuck this one straight over to Steve. What do you make of this one? This is the second Dudikoff movie in a row. Michael Dudikoff stars in this. We did what was it? Forced Vengeance? No, not Forced Vengeance.
Avenging Force.
Avenging Force.
There we go, Avenging Force. Last week. How do you get on with Chain of Command?
Right, I didn't enjoy it as much as Avenging Force.
Yep.
But it's all right. I just think what it is, it's too confusing. You don't know.
Yes.
I know sometimes you've got the oh, is he involved or is he not involved and blah, blah, blah. But you've got 5 different groups here trying, I don't know. I just didn't get what the point was and what they were trying to do. Because like you say, I mean, first of all, you've got the, what's it called, Rawlins, with the biggest hair you've ever seen in your life.
Crazy, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's like 3 mullets in one. It's weird.
It is really, really funny when he actually, because he's wearing an army cap, isn't he? And then he takes it off, and it's such a shock how much hair falls out of, it tumbles. It's like a bloody shampoo out of it. It's really, really funny.
I think it's reshoot hair as well, because the first shot you see when he takes the cap off is his hair is a certain length and volume, and then you cut to the next bit and it's so much bigger. it's like I think they got him back and he'd already cut his hair, so they had to build a wig, and then they think, oh, I think they've overdone it. But what that, we haven't got the money all the time or whatever. Just stick it on him. It's huge. It looks like one of those, one of those giant dogs.
Yeah,
It's just so big.
it is. It's like a shaggy dog sat on top of his head, basically. Yeah. It's Todd Curtis, isn't it? Playing Rawlins. But yeah, it is quite amusing for certain.
Also,
I think
as well, it's a canon film, isn't it?
Mhm.
So you got, is it Yoram Globus?
Yeah.
Who's the Israeli producer?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, is he trying to curry favour, basing it in Israel? Is it like not big himself up, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to set it in my homeland because this is what, give it some bit of, not propaganda, what's the word? Just promotion for his, his home territory and stuff like that. Cause
I think I've shot a lot of them over there, especially the sort of the latter stuff. I think they were very much sort of shooting in America a lot of the time, but as budgets sort of reduced, I think they went to further afield. And same sort of the knock on with like New Image and stuff. They would all film, because New Image sort of was another canon basically, and they would shoot in Israel as well as various other locations. So it was very common for Israel to be a shooting location and setting for films in this period, definitely.
Right, yeah, fair enough. It just seemed a bit weird, because like the others that I've seen, they're all, America. It just seemed a bit weird to be taking it over there, if you know what I mean. I just thought it might have been, personal to him. That's what I was thinking. But
there's quite a few filmed in England as well. Didn't we do?
Cannon did loads in England. We dealt with, Death Wish 3 being the.
What's that one we
biggest.
did with Robert Ginty? What's it called? It was Robert Ginty, and there was like a Chinese woman and somebody else, and it had Sylvester McCoy as one of the bad guys. Do you remember that one?
No, I can't remember.
We definitely did it. It's not a figment of my imagination.
Are you sure?
I had a lot of cheese that night.
Robert Ginty and Sylvester McCoy in the same film.
Yes.
How am I not remembering what that is?
Right. I shall tell you what it is in 2 secs.
I've got one. 3 Kinds of Heat.
That's the one. That is it. 3 Kinds.
I think you must have watched it without me because I don't think I've seen that one. But
we definitely did it.
Don't ring a bell.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, it wasn't bad actually. I seem to remember. Anyway, I digress. The other person in this, is Arlie Ernie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did not recognise him at all.
No, I didn't. I really didn't at first.
Because everything I've seen him in, he is instantly recognisable. It doesn't matter if he's playing a good guy or a bad guy. So, it's Arlie Ernie. But in this one, Jesus, no, he was deep in character. That's for sure.
I think it's the hair in the tash.
It is, yeah, and the mirror, the aviator glasses and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was an interesting choice for sure. I think you're right in that the story is overly complex. It's a very sort of cynical story of this oil company staging various things to make both the Americans and the Israelis look bad or something, so they can do a power grab on this company, country. I did like the sort of the greyness around the politics and people's motivations and things like that. You really do get the impression that you literally can't trust anyone in the business that he's in. Friends can become enemies or pointing guns at each other at a moment's notice. There is a really weird bit towards the end where one of the characters is kind of being tortured on a pool table.
Yeah.
Which seemed, in a way, sort of quite gratuitous. even though nothing's actually happening, but just having this person, tied and writhing on this pool table just seemed really a very odd choice. It seemed a bit leery to me, but there you go. Anyway, Rich, what did you make of Chain of Command? Had you actually come across this one before?
I did. I got it when it came out,
Okay.
which was back in '94, I think.
Yeah.
And I either bought it in probably Woolworths, or I bought it off the Britannia Video Club, which was a mail order catalogue back in the day.
DVD or VHS?
Oh, VHS. Yeah, definitely. It was VHS. Yeah, I definitely owned it for quite a while. I never really liked it though. That's the thing. I bought it and I didn't really get on with it. And I couldn't really remember anything about the story or anything. I just remember I wasn't a big fan. Watching it again, I could kind of see more in it that was what they were going for, because as it was going on, I was trying to piece together what it reminded me of, and I was like, well, obviously, I mean, for me, it's a James Bond movie, but it's a James Bond movie combined with Die Hard, where they've tried to take a working class hero kind of character and cross him with like a James Bond. So Michael Dudikoff's character, is this man of mystery. Is like, even by the end of the film, he's like, well, you don't quite know who I am, kind of thing. It's like they're trying to be way too cagey about it, and they do that with her as well. They're both. It ends with the Kim and the girl sort of both like not trusting and not really being honest about who they are. They've just been lying to each other the whole film. But anyway, he's kind of a working class hero, kind of a typical American, sort of hero character. In that sort of John McClane mold, but is sort of into espionage and stuff. But it's got that international flavour to it. The villain's got this grand plan. There's a show, the showdown with the villain, and it's his sort of the lead guy running his thing. It's very, very James Bondy, but say overly convoluted. The music's terrible throughout the film. It's just really poor, odd choices, and often doesn't fit the scenes. The hair was hilarious. That sort of grabbed me straight away. I was like, how did I not pick up on that the first time I saw it? I do not know. But
because Rich, you had the same hairstyle.
What was the other thing I noticed on this one? When I was watching it, I was thinking, this is a dubbed. This is like a TV cut or something, because I was noticing all the swear words where there were swear words that they were making. It was like, "Oh, you son of a witch" and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I managed to find another copy of it on YouTube, and I sort of ran the two side by side, and it definitely did have swearing, and they'd actually changed it. So this version, which is on Prime, is like a family, not family friendly.
It's like a family friendly search, but
it's like it's like the airplane, version, rather than the or the just after the watershed version, rather than the full version. Not that the language was that offensive in the original version. It's all very standard stuff. So it was quite interesting that that's the version they chose to upload. I think another thing that makes it interesting is it's possibly the last canon film. In terms of its American release, it was, because it took a couple more. It took 2 extra years to get released in the United States. It was apparently the last canon film ever released in the States. But I think if you look at like the credit lists and stuff of the film of the canon films, it does seem to be that it was the last, if not one of the very last actual canon productions. Menahem Golan had gone about 4 or 5 years earlier. So it was Yoram Globus and Christopher Pierce, who'd also been with he was with those guys for a long time. Christopher, his name sort of bumped above the credit. Now, this is the thing: the opening credits are so annoying because they do this noise every time like a credit comes up, and they add that a couple of times. So that was that computer noise that was always added in whenever computer text would come on screen.
Yeah.
I thought there was the dialogue. The dialogue's quite funny at times, especially between Michael Dudikoff and Ali Ermey's characters towards the end. When they're really sort of hamming it up with each other, and they're like, "Well, you're not lying to me, And it was like,
well, boy, howdy, and all that.
It's like, and Ali Ermi sort of pulls out the gun. It's like, are you going to take a deal? Am I going to be able to pay you off? And he goes, well, I think you might be able to. You're not lying to me, are you? I thought I had quite fun with that. What was it? Oh yeah, and we were talking about the Gold Run film and how it has this on-text epilogue, and this film has the most unnecessary on-text epilogue ever. I mean, they're flying off into the sunset literally, and it's like, do we really need like three screens of information about what happened as a result? It's like, like.
Well, what happened in this fictional country of Khmer?
Yeah. And it's like, what happened to some of the characters, and no charges were brought. it's like they've really sort of added. I don't know why they bothered with that.
Write to your local, write to your local congressman about the country of Khmer and how you can help it.
But I had a lot because of those features, that I've gone over. I had a lot more fun with it this time than I ever had before. But this is definitely. We're definitely at the opposite end of the canon rung here. Last week we were talking about Avenging Force, which was peak. As this was like 1986, and I'm not sure if it was like 85 or 86, but there was like 1 year they released like over 40 films.
Really?
Canon was just churning them out like crazy, and by this point, it's like one or two, maybe four or something. And think there was a lot of litigation and stuff happening at the time, and. Which was why I say I think there was that US release was delayed and stuff. But Joram Globus, I think he only produced one more film after this, which was a non-canon film called Black Sea Raid with Daniel Bernhardt, and I think, or was that Christopher Pierce? I can't remember if it's Christopher Pierce or no, I think that one was Christopher Pierce's last production. Sorry, Joram Globus did quite a few actually. But Christopher Pierce seemed to retire, I think, shortly after this. Joram Globus went off and did, because they all set up their other companies, like Manhattan Golan went up, set up his other. There were all these little Canon offshoot companies that sort of eventually happened. But this is kind of a little bit of a last hurrah, I guess, for the Canon brand. I enjoyed. I love seeing that logo come up at the beginning. It was such a fantastic piece of design. And it really set you up. The fact that my local cinema growing up was a Canon cinema meant that I saw it literally in front of every film that I ever saw down there for many years.
Used to be a Canon cinema in London. I used to go to. I remember. I saw some weird shit there. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many Canon films I haven't seen. I really want to. I really want to cover it. Like the Canon Film Guide guys. They've got that. They've got a huge, multi-volume set of books about all the Canon films and stuff. I'd really sort of like to try and tackle some of that at some point. But this was, this and Avenging Force really, had fun with those. And Michael Dudikoff, actually, I don't know, I don't love him as a leading man, but I think he'd kind of really settled into his persona. By this point, and I think he was just he was quite at ease with it, and I went with him. I like the girl the girl who comes in trying to seduce him at the beginning. That's hilarious as well, because she's like laying all over it's like the dialogue is so bad. It's such a funny scene. And then the next minute she's like a resistant. It made me think, that Val Kilmer spoof Top Secret.
Oh yeah.
It's like a serious version of Top Secret. It's like the Val Kilmer character is Michael Dudikoff, whatever, and it's just like it's funny, but it's all deadly straight. Eli Danker's in the cast as well. He's like one of the other characters. He was key characters, I will say. He's been in everything.
Familiar.
He was in Undisputed 2, and he's been in 24 and various shows. Very recognizable guy. Done lots of TV and movie work. So I enjoyed seeing him in this, and it's all right. It's not bad. It's lower rung, but it's all right, and it certainly, some of it still kicks the what's it out of a lot of what comes out now, because we don't get explosions and stuff like that.
We do not get explosions like we get in this one. That's for sure.
Oh, and it's David Worth directed it as well, so it was a very safe pair of hands.
Yeah.
Ali Ermey did On Deadly Ground, basically around the same time, which was so he was really not that well known at this point, as far as I'm aware.
Full Metal Jacket coming afterwards.
Well, sorry, I mean he was known for Full Metal Jacket. I mean that was that was his big breakthrough, but I think he hadn't become like this mainstream, figure that he I think really like stuff like Toy Story kind of did that, like just a little bit after. But he was around doing various things, including the film Toy Soldiers, which was with Sean Astin, which was the
I love that film.
Kids in School and stuff. He was doing all stuff like that, and I think he later became a much bigger. He was doing he had bigger roles, and I think this one, it was unusual for him to have such a key kind of bad guy role. Whereas in On Deadly Ground, he's literally one of a handful of featured players, kind of leading this team who's hunting down Steven Seagal and stuff. But he always had such a great presence. Sadly, we lost him in 2018. But Ali Ermey was always brilliant, and I had fun with his character here as well.
He was in a film called The Rift as well.
I used to have that on VHS.
I saw that recently, and I absolutely loved it. I would have loved for us to cover it, but unfortunately, it did actually get a cinema release back in the day, which is a shame. But it is a very schlocky, dumb movie, but brilliant at the same time. Cool. Okay.
An Italian one or something, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah, it came sort of shortly after things like The Abyss and Leviathan and Deep Star 6 and things. It was that period of like underwater, sort of horror sci-fi kind of stuff. But it is, it's cheap and funny. Basically, it's great fun. Anyway, that is the end of this week's show. So thanks, guys, for tackling these films. It was a bit of a treat to get the last Voyage of Demeter straight to DTV. But there you go. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Twitter /X, and Blue Sky at the DTV Digest. Also the short shots. So we need to work on getting another anthology out soon. Other than that, thank you for listening. Tune in next time.
Thank you for listening to the DTV Digest. Let us know your thoughts in the comments and tune in again next time.